And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at the 14th expansion for Dominion called Dominion Allies. How many expansions does this game need? Well, whatever. I take a look at each expansion separately. So there's a lot of expansions for Dominion. My favorite is Prosperity, then Seaside, and then there's a bunch of other ones. And the last 4 or 5 expansions, I've thought some were okay, some I liked, some I thought were better than that. Where does this one lie in there? This adds a new mechanism here in which you're going to be able to gain favor with people. And as you gain favor, you'll be able, it's basically a new resource that you'll be able to spend. How does it work? And what cards does this add? Let's show you. There are 31 new cards in this set. Well, actually, there's more than that. Well, you'll see in a second. But there's 31 different piles. Now, many of them, you don't need to know anything about new mechanisms. You can just throw in your base game and just play with them. So I'll show you those first. We have the Sentinel. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can trash 2 of them, put the rest in any order. Amazing, wonderful card. Merchant Camp, kind of a basic card here, plus 2 actions, money. But you can put on top of your pile. This is fantastic. But yeah, I don't know how many of these I would buy. And it doesn't let you draw extra cards. You need to keep that in mind. The Town, nice simple thing here. Get an extra card and 2 actions, or a buy and 2 money. And I really like this card, by the way. This is one of my favorite cards in the set because it's the old village, but also the extra buy and 2 money. I like that combo. This is a really good one for games. The Carpenter. So this one has an if thing. If there's no supply piles are empty, which is the beginning of the game, you get an action and get a card that costs up to 4. Otherwise, trash a card from your hand and gain a card costing 2 more of it. So it turns into basically a modify type card, an upgrade card, but at the beginning of the game, an extra action gives you a free card. Another great card. Courier, +1, discard top card from your deck, look through your discard pile, and play an action or treasure from it. So this is basically an extra action, and you get to pick the action. Of course, you have to have a discard pile for this to work, but still. Innkeeper is an action, gives you another choose one. And this is one of my favorite choose ones ever. Take an extra card, or draw 3, discard 3, or draw 5 and discard 6. I have used all 3 of those in different situations. Why would you draw 5 and discard 6? If your hand is garbage, then who cares? So, such a good card. Then Barbarian. It's my least favorite card in the set. I don't like it at all. Gives you 2 money. Everyone else trashes the top card of their deck. I don't like that. If it costs 3 or more, they get a cheaper card. Okay, great. Of the same type. Otherwise, they get a curse. Trashing a card and getting a curse? Yeah, I don't like that. Capital City. So here, you get a card and 2 actions. Just like all the different towns and cities give you. And then you can discard a card for 2 money and pay 2 money to get 2 cards. Swap, card in action. You can put an action card back to get a different one that costs up to 5. Which, interestingly enough, means you could buy a cheap action card to get a 5 one. This one's fine. Specialist, I really like. Play an action or treasure from your hand. Treasure. Then you play it again or gain a copy of it. Oh, man. Double a gold or take another gold. I love the Specialist. Skirmisher, +1 card, +1 action, +1. And when you gain an attack card, each other player discards down to 3 cards in their hand. I get why this is in, and again, just like the Barbarian, I know why you would buy it, but I don't particularly like this one. Modify, I just talked about cards like this. This is nothing new. Trash a card to get you a +1 card in action, or you can gain a card that's 2 more. So this gives you, these cards give you more options, which I like. The Marquee is really cool. This one here, +1 buy, and then you +1 card for each card in your hand, discard down to 10. So now if you play this normally, it's going to be draw 4 more cards. But if you play another draw first and then play this, Hunter, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, put an action, treasure, and victory in your hand, discard the rest. Okay, that's decent. Galleria, it's +3, and when you gain a card, it's 3 or 4, +1 buy. Then we have a couple duration cards. If you've never seen a duration card, these were introduced in the expansion Seaside, which was the 2nd expansion. This is the 14th. But anyway, you play this, and at the start of your next turn, discard this, and you draw 3 cards. And the first treasure each other plays each turn does nothing, which doesn't bother me that much. It's an attack, but they can discard a copper if they have one. So it's not a big deal. And then Royal Galley, +1 card. When you play, you might play a non-duration, that's these orange ones, cards from your hand, set it aside. If you did, then at the start of your next turn you can play it. So you can save a card for next turn, which isn't bad. So this is stuff that you don't need to know any new rules for. Let's show you the new rules. In this game, you're going to be able to get favors. Many cards, like this underling, is +1 card, +1 action, +1 favor. And so you put a coin here. These are the same coins they use for other stuff, so they have to put it on this favor mat to remember that it's a favor. At the beginning of a game, you're going to draw an ally card randomly. I would not draw an ally card randomly, as a side note. I would draw a few of them and pick from between them. So you can use favors for whatever the card says. When you gain a card, you can spend 2 favors to gain a cheaper non-victory card. After you play Liaison, if you have 5 more favors, you get +1 money. And if 10 or more, +1 action and +1 buy. When discarding your hand in cleanup, you may spend any number of favors to keep that many cards in your hand for the next turn. And those are just a few of the very many allies that are in this game. You can see there's a ton of them. I'm not going to go over all of them. Most of them I like. There's one that I did not enjoy, which basically says you have to spend a favor or else you only play your hand with 4 cards. That I don't enjoy. But the rest of these, when you gain a card, spend a favor to put on top of your deck. At the start of your buy phase, you may spend a number of favors to trash that many cards from your hand. So these give you favors which are going to be different depending on what ally card you have. So there are many cards that have to do with these favors. So you can see the underling here. Then the sycophant, when you gain or trash it, you get 2 favors. And it's +1 action, discard 3. And if you discard at least 1, +3 money. For 2, that's a pretty good deal. I like it a lot. Here's another duration card, which gives everyone 4 favors at the beginning of the game. Whenever you play this at the start of your next turn, you get a card that costs up to 5. This one here gives you 3. And this turn, when you gain a card, get a favor, great card. The Emissary gives you 3 cards. If this makes you shuffle at least 1 card, you get an action, another action, and 2 favors. Kind of limited, but the +3 card's still worth it. This, I believe, is the first treasure duration card. I might be wrong there, but it's 2 and a favor, and you can set an action aside from your hand to play it next turn. Great, and it only costs 2. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 5. Oh, it's 5, but still, it's worth it. The Broker is one of my favorite cards, where you can trash a card from your hand, and then you get something depending on the cost of the card you trash. So if I got rid of this, I'd get 5 cards, 5 actions, 5 money, or 5 favor. Very useful card, only is 4. And then the Bauble is a new treasure, which gives you 2 different options: a buy, a money, or a favor. And when you get a card, you can put it on your deck. Now this one does cost 2, and that's very, very inexpensive. The remaining cards have a new focus to them. You'll notice here that there's multiple pictures here on the Odysseys, Wizards, Forts, Angers, Clashes, and Townsfolk. These are the blue cards for those purposes. But when you have one of these piles in a game, so for example, the Odyssey action, it's going to be 4 old maps on top of 4 voyages, on top of sunken treasures, on top of distant shores. Now, this is not the first time that Dominion has had cards of different types on top of each other, but this one does something very different. The top card of each pile, so for example, this old map, +1 card, +1 action, discard a card to get an extra card. But it says you can rotate the Odyssey. So when you play this, you take all the cards that are on the top of one kind and stick them on the bottom. Now people can buy the Voyage. Or you can take all the Voyages and put them down here to get the Sunken Treasure. Or take the Sunken Treasure to get the Distant Shore. And these are different kinds of cards too. And then you can put the Distant Shores back on the bottom and do the old map again. So here we have the tents, which turn into the garrisons, which turn into the hill forts, which turn into a stronghold, a victory point duration card, which is 2 points, but you can get 3 money, or at the start of your next turn, 3 cards. I really like this card. It feels like it's a little pricey at 6, but it doesn't stop me from getting it. Look at this one here. The Herb Gatherers turn into the Acolytes, turn into the Sorcerers, where you reveal the top card of your deck and put it in your hand. If it's the name card, everyone else gets a curse. That's not, you have to be kind of lucky maybe to get that to happen. And the symbol here, put a card from your hand on the top of your deck and another on the bottom, but you're drawing 4 cards with another action. That seems like it's worth 6 to me. Here we have the Town Criers, which I like their base card here. Choose one of these, 2 money or gain a silver. Or +1 card, +1 action. They turn into the Blacksmith, which turns into the Miller, which turns into the Elder. And oh, the Elder is fun. You may play an action card from your hand when it gives you a choice of abilities. Choose one this turn. You may choose an extra option. And just in case you don't have any of those, the Town's Crier is one of those choose one actions on there, and so is the Blacksmith. So that card will work with something else. But if I play with this, I always try to make sure there's another choose one that's been randomly picked. And here we got the Battle Line turning into the Archer, turning into a Warlord, turning into Territory, some other victory points. So these kind of thematically go through and turn into things. So I kind of like that aspect of this. And these are really easy to implement into the game. All right, it's kind of the same thing that you see with every Dominion. You have one of these here in the middle and all the cards in their different slots. The card art works fine. It fits in well. You know, there's not a lot I'm going to say about this, you know, component-wise. I think the favor mat is a little boring looking. These are great coins that come with the game. They're the exact same coins that are used for other things and other ones. I would have preferred they make a new token for favors, because then you would just have these tokens rather than needing another mat. But that's more nitpicky than anything else. So overall, it's another Dominion expansion, but it's cool. Now, that being said, let me tell you this. This, I think, and this is still kind of early to jump up in there, this may be my 3rd favorite expansion, maybe even my 2nd favorite expansion that they've ever put out for Dominion. I love this expansion. I don't love every card, but I don't know that there's any expansion that I love every card. I just don't like the very negative attack cards that this one has, and that's just one of them and slightly 2 of them. But the rest, so first of all, the new normal cards feel very normal. There's a little bit more, you know, choose this or that stuff to them, but many of these cards in this set I could easily throw into with people who've never played before. If you're like me, and you play Dominion and you teach new people it a lot, you get tired about playing those same 10 basic cards, right? But some of these could work for that. Some of them are very simple and easy to understand. Even if they have a choose this or that, it still isn't that difficult to add into the game. And there's a lot of normal cards here. But then once we start using the allies and adding them in with the favor, now some of the favor cards, like I said, I don't really care for a couple of them. But the vast majority of them are really interesting. Spend a favor to draw more cards. Spend a favor to discard a card and draw a card. Spend 5 favor to take an extra turn after this one. Man, I love that. And it says to play with 1 of those per turn. I think you could play with 2 to spend favor in 2 different ways. I would also play, well, I mean, I already play, I don't know how most people play Dominion. I play with what I call pseudo-random, is I shuffle up cards and we start revealing them. And once we have 4 or 5 cards, sometimes a card will come out and we'll go, this doesn't really work with these, or we have too many cards that cost 5, something like that. So, you know, we will get rid of that and we keep drawing until we get a nice set of 10. It's random, but I call it pseudo-random. Same thing here. With the allies, I'd draw an ally card and I'd be like, nah, that one doesn't sound very fun to play with. Then we just draw another one. Or pick one. It doesn't matter. And those, I really like those rotating piles. Now, the piles where you're cycling them to the bottom, those I would not play with people who are new to Dominion, because that is something extra to think about. You know, what are the next 4 cards underneath there? Do I want to put these underneath that, rotating these piles? But man, it's fun. And really, if you think about it, this is 31 piles in this game. But 6 of those piles have 4 in there each. That's 24 plus 25. That's 49 different cards that they brought here. That's neat. I think I did my math there right, but it doesn't matter. I played this. There's so many unique and interesting things. This feels really fresh to play with Dominion. The favor thing is fun. The new cards are good. Sometimes one of the new cards comes out and I'm like, I'm not interested in that. And that's only because there are better cards. We found really fun and weird combos that you can do. There are new ways to cull your deck, which I know people like. There are new ways to, there are new combinations, like I said, of duration and money and duration and victory points. This was a blast to play. This is one of my favorite expansions for Dominion that I played in a long time, and I'm really glad I got it. And it's good to see that Dominion can do new and cool things without also getting really esoteric and adding stuff. I mean, they've done that in the past, actually, from ruins to all kinds of weird little things that I felt like push against the boundaries. This doesn't feel like it's pushing at all. Like I said, if you have Dominion, this could be your first expansion. And it would work. It would work really well. So I highly recommend this. Check it out. That's Dominion Allies. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.